Namaskar and welcome to this exciting new episode of Sattology, debunking mythology. Sat means truth, logos means study or science, Sattology means science of truth or study of truth. Opposite of that is mythology. It comes from the Sanskrit root word myth, which means a fake lie, imagination. Many other words come from myth, is mithya, mithyachar, mithyankar, all coming from myth dhatu. And so mithyachar, mythology means science or study of fake lie or imagination. Mythology destroys your identity because it has no historical basis. It is an accusation, it's an allegation by the academics onto the history of the natives. Like they'll say, oh, it is not scientifically proved. That means you did not exist before. Let me tell you, when did you exist? Has it happened to you? Everyone. Yes, it happens every day. Let me tell you your history. I said, what about my grandfather? What about my historians? He says, no, they're all wrong. Let me tell you the history. That's the beginning of mythology. However, countries like India, South America, they were colonized by the Europeans by the same strategy, continuing till date. Most of the Indians depend on validation of their history from the Western academics in Europe and USA. Or if an American has said it, that must be right. If an European has said it, that must be right. So we have to check what world we are living in. And Sattology means reverse. Sattology means history of the natives with proofs. Like I have proved in my 11 books, Ramayana is a historical fact. Mahabharata is a historical fact. And Ramayana spread, global spread, is a historical fact. I proved that in the global footprint of Ramayana. Is a bestseller in many parts of the world, including US. And I've proved it. So I'm going to go on a travel with following my own book, that where it takes me. So I have a very special guest, and we are going to talk about Jagannath Puri. Jai Jagannath. So without delay, let us welcome
Jai
Shri
Jagannath.
Surya Sarath Roy.
Jai Jagannath.
Jai Jagannath. Namaste, Suryaji. Jai
Namaste.
Jagannath. So, what before we start off, and you have done many videos, I've seen them, and before we start off, what inspires you for Jagannath?
That's a very, very interesting question, and I keep coming across it. And let me be very honest with you, okay? And why it is important to be honest? Because people will, I feel, get inspired, and they will also become and explore Puri and Jagannath and Nilachal and Kalinga, for that matter. So I was an average, householder till 2007, 2008, who used to go to the temple maybe once in a month or twice in a month, or maybe on a special festival or something like that. But something happened in 2008 where I was visiting one of my native towns of my in-laws, which is a Peterstan, or a hub of Vaishnavism, and that particular area, which is called Guptipara, it is full of historical temples and places, and stories and whatnot, and history, starting from Rath Yatra to Jagannath Temple to Vrindavan Chandra Temple. And after I visited that place and came back from there, I started experiencing enormous attraction towards Sri Krishna. And and it all started from here. So it was a journey which started off, and then it led me to Jagannath Puri. And I wanted to understand who is Jagannath and what was the starting point. How did it all evolve? Where did it all start? And then I started learning about Jagannath, reading about Jagannath. And it all culminated from Mahabharata, parts of Ramayana, and then coming into Nilamadhav, and from Nilamadhav to Jagannath. And the first time, when I visited Jagannath Puri and looked at Jagannath Mahaprabhu, almost I think after 32 years, 22 years, uh, I was physically drawn like a magnet by looking at his eyes, the famous eyes that we known as Chakanayana. So that was the starting point. And once I landed and I was standing in front of the temple, I felt that I have been here for ages. This is not the first time that I've come here, not in this birth or maybe earlier births as well. So there started the journey. And when I was coming back from Puri, tears were flowing constantly, and I told myself that I have to come back in next 1 year's time. And so the journey started. And then within 1 year, when I reached back, I started attending the Rath Yatra. And then from that day onwards, this was in 2010, 9, 10. From those times till now, I have been a regular visitor during Rath Yatra. And I had by the blessings of Mahaprabhu or Mahaprabhu Sri Jagannath, I had the opportunity of pulling the ropes amidst all those 15 lakh people, and I have experienced numerous vibrations. I have gone through numerous experiences, and every day that I have passed through all these experiences and feeling, my belief, my love, my dedication, my devotion, my sincerity, everything has slowly and slowly condensed more and more with each passing day and cemented inside me, and that is where it started and that is how it is. And this is where I come from.
You know, I hear words like isms, anywhere isms, like ism. And I, being an author and writer, I have to study every single letter carefully. And Sanskrit is a very complete language. So when we say ism, the Western academic world views it as a mental concoction. So they put Hinduism, shamanism, animism, Vaishnavism, Shaivism, Shaktism, but they don't call Christianity. They call it Christianism. They don't call it Abrahamism. They don't call it Islamism. They don't call it. See, there is a bias in the academic world. So my humble request is, because I've studied ashram of many great sages, Vishwamitra, Shukracharya, great Rishi, Shadbringa Rishi, and Matanga Rishi. So all kinds of Devi Devta, because without Devi Devta, respecting Devi Devta, the approach to Hari is difficult. And so the isms should be, we have to be careful. These are Max Muller's words, because he did not understand. He's thinking an American mind, or British, German, I don't know his origins. But anyway, German, Italian, British, some say it's a British spy. So in these ashrams, everyone was living. Whether you're worshipping Shakti, Gopendra Sen, Chinanda Gopa Kulot Bhave, Durga is always considered younger sister of Vishnu. Always. Is in the Shastra everywhere.
Yes.
And so isms, we have to start avoiding them, because it really hurts our own culture more than anyone else. So Tattva is a better word, like a Shiva Tattva, Vishnu Tattva, Jiva Tattva, and Hindu Tattva, like Hindutva. So my next question to you is, the Jagannath Puri is like, he is my worshipable deity. So in my house, you'll see Jagannath everywhere. So the thing is, you just cannot avoid. He's one person sitting with his both hands out and say, come and embrace me, like call me, come. Anyone, you can be anyone.
Yes.
And there is a history over there that why the temple was gradually closed for attackers, not for others, for attackers. So what do you have to speak on that history of this Jagannath temple?
See, if we look at history, or if we refer to Madalapaji, the chronicles or the written or documented history of Jagannath temple, so there have been a total of 18 invasions on Jagannath temple, which is probably the highest, more than Somnath. And people say, or most of the historians say, Somnath was attacked for 17 times, but actually in the recent times, Professor Sitaram Goel, Ram Gopal Mishra, they have all debunked and told that we don't get more than 12 times. But anyways, that's a separate history. So considering the invasions of Jagannath temple for 18 times, considering the difficulties that were endured by our servitors, Sevites that we call them, from for the last so many years, and every time when an attack was planned, it was informed in advance. People used to, or the servitors used to take away the deities to save them from the wrath of these invaders, and used to hide them all across, Orissa. So most of them in around in Chilka, Ganjam district, Gajapati district. There are quite a few places, and all these places they have a built temple, just like in the same Kalinga style architecture built temples still made and worshipped there. And at some of the places, Rath is also observed there. But I think coming from a historical background and restricting, and then there have been incidences where people of other faiths have tried to enter into the temple in a disguise with maybe unholy undue desires, and and then what is important here to see, the decision of the temple authorities to restrict it to Hindus only seems to me justified from a historical point of view, to ensure the safety, integrity, and security of the temple. That is one part of it. The other part is that if you really look at Jagannath Mahaprabhu and his way of puja, his way of belief amongst everybody around the globe, you will see that during the Rath Yatra, Jagannath Mahaprabhu comes out for giving darshan to millions of his devotees. For 9 days, he is outside the temple, and people of all faith, all origins, they can have a darshan of Jagannath Mahaprabhu. So, and people wait for that time. So I think that's a beauty which we should also highlight, and not just restrict ourselves to why the temple is not open for everybody or anything of that sort. And trust me, when these incidences have happened in the past, like some of the invasions have been so wrathful, it had broken the very basics of the temple. They have, like for the example, the most talked about invasion is of Kalapahar, the general of Suleiman Karnani of the Nawab of Bengal, or he burned down the Kalpavat, which is very spiritually important for us. And then he took away, he went chasing the deities. He found out somehow where the deities were, kept in a hidden place. He took them out. He took them near to the Ganga, and he tried to burn them. Fortunately, the Brahma Vastu was saved by a Vaishnavite who was following them, and it was the Brahma Vastu was recovered by that Brahmin, and stored in a mridanga, khol jisko hum bolte. So and then it was restored by Ramchandra Dev, one of the Gajapatis, after some time when the environment was suitable. So if you look at all those histories that the temple has endured, the deities have endured, the sacrifices of the people of Orissa, the sacrifices of the Sevites, the hardship they have done to preserve this culture, to preserve this deity, I think it makes sense in all respect.
The see, one, there are two definitions in English of every word. One is connotational, one is denotational. The denotational language, the meaning of cult is one way in, no way out. So you can understand many Abrahamism can be called cults, most of them, because there's one way in, no way out. So you very interestingly use the word cult, and I know why you used it. It's like a uniqueness of the entire culture. And there's a very beautiful story of Ramanujacharya.
Yes.
Where Ramanujacharya came to it is great Acharya. We all follow Ramanujacharya.
You even have a tilak of Ramanuj tilak in the Amlaka.
Exactly, till date. And a beautiful story where he came to comment on the worship of the Pandas. And then you can come to the story of the Panda as well as the Vishwasu's two wives and their kids also. That's a difference. What do you call it? Panda, and there is another word for the
Daitapatis.
Daitapati. Daitapati. Sorry, how did I forget? So what was the story of Ramanujacharya? Because that was interesting. I think that's where you come the definition of cult. Otherwise, cult has a negative meaning. Yeah.
See, that is what, it's a long discussion, but I try to, concise it. So, Jagannath Mahaprabhu's worship is, he's for everyone, as you rightly said. He's for everyone, and he
Jagannath is a
accepts
Jagannath. Is not
Jagannath.
Odiyanath or not yeah,
No,
Purinath.
no, no, no,
Yeah.
no, no. He's Jagannath. He's
Jagannath.
Jagannath. So, and his way of worship is he accepts everybody. He accepts everything from anyone who gives it with love and dedication and sincerity. Okay. So you see the most downtrodden also, coming up to him, offering him something and getting it accepted. And if that person was beaten back, you have seen many incidences where, Mahaprabhu himself has intervened through the Gajapati, and he has got back that person his due respect and place. So that's why he's called Purushottam, most Uttam Purushottam. So now coming back to the Ramanujacharya episode, Ramanujacharya being a widely acclaimed authority of those days, those times, came to Jagannath Puri, observed all the riti nitis of the temple, and he felt that there are a lot of things which are happening which is not as per uh, Vaishnav Tattva, not as per the processes that he has learned, or the way of worship, how it has to be done for a Vishnu deity or for Bhagavan Sri Krishna for that matter. So he made certain changes, he devised and made certain changes in the process. And as a change of this process, everybody was, flabbergasted that why this is happening, why so much of processes. We can just walk in anytime, talk to Mahaprabhu, have a darshan, have his prasadam. But why this man suddenly who has come and, he's not allowing people to enter on these times, processes of the pujas have changed, the pandas are flabbergasted, everybody, is finding it a little difficult. And then one fine day, when he was doing all these things, so Bhagwan Jagannath, comes in his dreams, or maybe in person, that we don't get to know properly. But he comes and he asks him, "Who are you to change my processes? This is my place. These are my devotees. These are my children. I am perfectly okay. I'm very happy the way things are over here. I have no problem. I'm more comfortable with this. Your processes, your change of worship, your way of looking at things is making my life difficult. So I'm now going to deport you, and Garur will take you back to your place down south." So in next one day's time, he vanishes from Puri. That's what we hear and that's what we read. And that's a very, funny. So anybody interfering in his process, anybody interfering in his way of worship, or for that matter, cult, is not welcome. He's very unique, he's very unique. I can't express, when I go there in times of Rath Yatra, I see the most poorest of the poor, they're walking on the highway from as far off places as Kalahandi or Ganjam district by foot. They're coming to Puri in boats, standing in that scorching sun of 45 degrees centigrade in 15 lakhs people, just to have a single glimpse of the Lord. And he's so happy, and they're so happy with that glimpse. And then in the night, they all sleep on the roads in front of the temple, and in the night they do kirtans, they take out sankirtans. Then after the next morning, when Mahaprabhu, next day when Mahaprabhu enters Gundicha, they have a darshan over there and go back. And these people, trust me, I have seen them very closely, and they have nothing with them except bhakti. They have nothing apart from bhakti. And trust me, when I see them praying, when I see them doing kirtan in their own style, it it may not be a very perfect one, but the kind of sincerity, the kind of devotion, the kind of bhakti they do, and they prostrate and they show is unimaginable. We feel belittled when I personally felt belittled when I looked at them. And there's an interesting story around this also with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu once saw a devotee reading the Bhagavad Gita. Every day he sees in a temple, and the pronunciations, the meanings, everything, whatever he's reading out for that matter, was completely wrong. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is, he's little disturbed, and he says that day after day this person is doing this mistake. I must correct him. So he goes there and asks this person that, why do you read Bhagavad Gita, and why do you do it in such a wrong way? Why don't you take knowledge of the right way of doing it? So that devotee tells him that, when I read it, I see Bhagavan Krishna in his chariot and Arjun, for that matter, in front of me. They are looking at me and they're blessing me, and that is why I read this every day. Mahaprabhu said, then you don't need anything. You don't need me. You don't need me anything. Just keep doing what you are doing. So that's what, or there have been stories, when there was a famine in Orissa, and there was one guy or a devotee called Bandhu Mahanti. He comes to Puri with his family, telling his wife that my friend Jagannath is there. His wife doesn't know who is Jagannath, and if he truly is referring to Mahaprabhu. So he says that he's there and he will feed us. So don't worry, let's go there. So he goes to the Jagannath temple and tries to get a prasad, Mahaprasad, but he doesn't get it. Obviously, since he's poor and he's from those unwanted people of those eras, and he doesn't get it. So he sleeps on the south gate, or the Paschim Darwaza or Paschim Dwar, जिसको हम बोलते हैं, and under a banyan tree. In the night, Mahaprabhu is not able to sleep. Mata Lakshmi asks him, what is the issue? He says that my friend has come with a dependence on me, that I will feed him, but I am not able to feed him. He is hungry, he is unable to sleep. He has little children with him. So Mahaprabhu, in disguise of a Brahmin, comes out with his own thali, or the plate, with all the varieties of Mahaprasad in it, and offers it to Bandhu Mahanti. He says that you have it, and once you are through this, keep this thali with you. My people will come and collect from you, or I will come and collect from you. And within seconds, that Brahmin disappears. Next day morning, when the temple opens, the all the Sevaites are in shock. The main thali of Mahaprasad is missing, and they start searching to find it nowhere. The news goes to Gajapati. Gajapati comes running to the temple, and everybody is looking for it. The forces are dispatched, people are looking, and suddenly one of the Sevaites see that this man sleeping under the tree is actually sleeping on top of this this thali. So he beats him black and blue, and he pulls him up and takes to the Gajapati, and Gajapati puts the entire family behind the bars. And that is when that day in the night, Mahaprabhu appears in the dreams of Gajapati and tells him that he is my bhakt. He came here. I gave him. Who are you to stop me? You are doing a seva of mine. I have taken a decision, and who are you to question that? Go, release him from the jail, give him a place to stay here until his death. For generations, he will sit here in front of me in Puri. And Gajapati goes running, frees him with all due respect, honors him, gives him a place right on the south gate to stay. Until today, that banyan tree is there. People doesn't know this story. Many people doesn't know that, yes, this is the banyan tree. And, for generations, and even now today, all the Bandhuvantis, descendants stay in that place. So that is what Jagannath is. You have so much of variations. He had a Bhakt Salabeg, the person who wrote the famous bhajan Ahe Nila Saila. So, and which is almost every day sung in the temple and sung at the time of Rath Yatra. But again, Salabeg was a Muslim. His mother was, like it used to happen in the ancient medieval India, was picked up by a Muslim invader, a ruler. Salabeg was their child, and Salabeg was brought up as a Muslim. He fought by the side of his father in one of the battles when he was grievously injured and had no chances of his surviving. His Brahmin mother told him that worship Jagannath, he will save you, and he will definitely answer to your pains. He did it, and he was recovered. He recovered very well, and he became a devotee. And he became such a big devotee. He kind of wrote such verses, such poems, such bhajans. Till today they are amar. Till today they are sung, and it was in his honor that Jagannath stopped the chariot on one of the Rath Yatras in front of the hospital square on that Baradanda through which the route through which Rath Yatra passes. And you have on the right side of Baradanda the Samadhi of Salabheg even now. So the story goes Salabheg was coming, he was not well, he was dragging himself on the road, and he was still 3 days away from Puri. And he was fervently praying to the Lord that give me an opportunity to see you. And the Lord, when he reached that particular point, which is called Hospital Square today, stopped the chariot over there. He stayed there for 3 months till Salabeg reached there, had a darshan, and then he moved to Gundicha. Now, what is important here, and I'm not sure how many of you know, in those days, the Baradanda that we see today as a continuous 3.5 kilometers long road was not so. It was divided into two parts, and there was a river which is flowing. And so those days there used to be 6 pairs of chariots that were constructed, and the roads obviously were kacha roads or with mud, and elephants were used extensively to pull the chariots apart from people pulling it, the devotees pulling it. So, and then the first set of chariot will bring the deities in front of the river. Then the deities will be taken up to the other side with the boat, and then put on the other second pair of chariots, and those chariots will be pulled up to Gundicha. So over a period of time, this river, slowed down and it was filled up, and the settlement started queuing in, and so on. Obviously, over a period of the Baradanda had developed. So I am sharing these stories. These are real stories, and people still remember these devotees, these bhakts, and there are memorials, and it only shows you how Jagannath is spread across people, in all the stratas of society, every different way. He takes a simple coconut from a poor farmer, Dasia Bauria, people make fun of him, but it gets accepted only to their utter dismay. So Jagannath stops the Rath Yatra for some of his devotees. Jagannath stops taking food for some of his devotees, and he can do anything. He can do anything. I personally have experienced it, many things in my, this 12, 13 years that I have been with him. I have experienced many things, which obviously I can't, express over here. But but that's something, person who has not gone to Puri, he has not understood. It's very difficult to explain to him. But over and all, it's a very spread out thing which covers all strata of society, all kind of people from every nook and corner, and he just wants the love, the sincere love from you, nothing else.
People do not realize in the Abrahamism cults, there, if you see, the nobles or the royalties are given preference against commoners. You cannot do a prayer in a royal church. No one can do that. Only the royalty is allowed, even for prayers, not even
Yes.
this thing. But in
Yes.
Jagannath Puri, anyone can go. Anyone can go.
Yes.
Now, and
Yes.
also people have to understand it is one of the 4 dham, like the 4
Yes.
places that every Hindu must visit in their lifetime.
Yes. Absolutely.
At least one out of 4, at least one.
Yes.
Whether you like
Yes.
Badrinath or Dwarka or this, and then
Rameshwaram.
and Rameshwaram. At least one of them you should visit one time.
Yeah.
Now coming to again to Jagannath Puri, which you mentioned, as a cult, and I think I clarified that why you meant cult. The uniqueness that it has,
Yes,
and
yes.
which is nowhere else, only there. It is
Right.
said, like in all other dham you go, you have to do fasting and everything, and but here Ekadashi is upside down towards the back of the temple. Yeah? When you go to the back of the temple, there's Ekadashi which is hanging upside down, and the only fasting is eat Jagannath Prasad from Anand Bazar.
Yes,
Yeah?
yes. And in fact, it is strongly believed that even in Ekadashi fasting, if you have Mahaprasad, that doesn't affect your
That's why
Ekadashi
they
Palana.
put the Ekadashi upside down in the back.
Yeah, that's the reason.
And behind the temple, there is a huge Narsingadev Mandir. It
Yes.
is installed by Brahma himself. That's what they
Right.
said.
No, no, that was one not installed by Brahma, and that is one of the places that I intend to show you. The real Brahma or the nursing temple, it is behind Gundicha, a small one, much smaller one, and that DT that is actually that was installed by Brahma, Narad, and Maharaj Indradumna.
Uh-huh.
You know that is actually hidden behind the current DT. They don't show it to all.
Hmm.
They don't show it to all.
In Gundicha
So
temple.
just behind Gundicha,
Yeah, okay.
just behind Gundicha, and
Same altar,
and
same
the
altar.
same altar, but a little smaller one, of course, because the temple is smaller.
Ah.
And Aditya ji, let me tell you, the first time when I attended the Sandhya Aarti over there, the kind of enormous Narasimha vibrations that I got, I'm getting my hairs are standing right now. It was unimaginable. It was unimaginable. I kind of, the experiences that I got, it's true. And let me tell you on this. That is again the beauty of Jagannath. You never know in which form he comes to you. Local rickshaw puller. That was the first time in 2009 when I went there. A local. I went to the temple because I did my research and I found out everything. So a local rickshaw puller, uh, told me that you go and collect the snan water, the water, bathing water of the Prabhu, and keep it in your home. And if whenever somebody is not well, just sprinkle it on him. It will do wonders. He was a rickshaw puller. Okay, just mark these words because this is very interesting. I took that with me. I stored it in my home. My son used to have bronchial problems that time, those days. And in one of the winters, probably the subsequent year, he was not keeping well. He was coughing a lot, sneezing a lot, and he had this breathing issues. So I told my wife that just sprinkle that water and let me get the antibiotics for him in the meantime. Trust me, Aditya ji, half an hour back, when I came back to home, my son was running around with no sign. And this I'm telling on camera, okay? I have no interest to gain any popularity, please. So it worked wonders. So the next time when I went back, within 6 months, when I went back to Jagannath Puri, and I knew the home where this rickshaw puller used to stay. I went there and it was empty. Nobody was there. And this rickshaw puller was 6 feet plus tall, lanky, and dark complexion, very dark. Krishna Varna, jisko hum bol sakte hai. So I realized what has happened. I fully realized what has happened. So I had nothing but to surrender to surrender to Mahaprabhu, and that is all he wants, that you surrender to him, and he takes care of your stuff. So you know that's the beauty.
So another important aspect is today, like I went last year also, and I saw a lot of development around Jagannath Puri temple. And
That's again a sad story. That's
I've
a
been
very sad story.
I've been going there for 20 years. And for this time, I could not recognize the shops which I used to go to. Right next to,
Hmm.
as soon as you come out of the Arun Sthamb, there used to be a lot
Hmm.
of shops over there. Now everything is open
God.
and gone. So which is a, just give me a second. So so the so all of them have gone, and the parking lot has been expanded, and all those things have happened. So do you think, like you said, it is, you already before I said it, you said it's wrong. What has changed over there?
Okay. So, so first of all, there are a lot of, as you have been visiting for the last 2 decades, you're already aware. So there were a lot of mutts who were 1,000 years old. The Raghunandan Library, which was 500 to 600 years old, holding ancient scriptures and documents. All these heritage properties were destroyed. They were pulled down. Any, the Ancient Monuments Act of 2017 clearly states that within 100 meters of the temple premises, you cannot do any altercation to any of the properties unless it is for public convenience. So, using that or not following that, and ASI has been persistently writing to the government of India and to the government of Orissa not to do this construction activities. And today, the result is in front of everybody. You have these heritage properties pulled down. The Marmat, which was the staying place or the residence of Ramanujacharya, that has been taken down. The Raghunandan Library, there are other numerous mutts which have been taken down. We lost those heritage properties, which could have, if being developed by the government, on the other hand, could have become a potential revenue generator for them and for us and for the coming generation could have acted as huge importance or huge reference points of histories, thereby raising interest levels about Sanatan Dharma, raising interest levels about learning the Kalinga history or the Vaishnavite history or the history of that place. The second point is in as a part of that beautification, they want to make a corridor around the which they call the Jagannath temple corridor. Jagannath never had any corridor concept or a parikrama mark for that matter, like we see in Vrindavan or Rajbhumi or even in other parts of India. So they started digging up in less than 75 meters from the Meghnad Prachir or the main boundary wall, what we know as, and they started using JCB and they they digged in as deep as 25 to 30 feet. And the moment it started, many couple of MPs objected. ASI objected most importantly, giving a proper technical justification, and somehow though these were overlooked, the construction works continued, and as a result of that, what we hear from numerous press reports that the Nath Mandir has developed a lot of cracks. Now, let me tell you here, for the last, particularly after the Nabakalevar in 2015, ASI have been persistently working on restoring the temple because there were a lot of cracks which developed dangerously inside the sanctum sanctorium. So people or devotees were not anymore, and even they are not allowed anymore today. They have darshan from the Jagmohan area, which is around 32 feet away from the deities. There are a lot of iron pillars that have been constructed inside, put there to hold the structure. They have done away to, they have put in a air ventilation system and a cooling system to take care of the moisture that was damaging the walls and the joints for that matter. And and the temple top or the amlaka, if you see pictures from, I would say, prior to 1960, 1928, 1800, late 1800s or 1940s, you will see the main temple, the amlaka or the structure or the temple top, the entire structure is white. It was with lime paste, and that was one of the reasons why Jagannath Temple used to be called as White Pagoda. So those lime pastes, earlier used to be put by the Gajapatis in order to ensure that the salty weather of Puri does not damage the construction. And the day ASI removed those white lime pastes from the temple body, deterioration started. And any time of the year for the last 10 years that I'm going, at least, I remember I've never seen a single time when, arcs and, repairing structures are not, uh, kept around the temple top or in some part of it, because somewhere the other the problems persist and they are repairing, they're restoring something or the other happening. Now, if that is the state of the temple right now, and there have been incidences where huge boulders have fallen from the top. Fortunately, nobody was injured or even died, but it was a very precarious situation. The temple was closed, I think, and also cordoned off certain area. And if this is the temple condition, the structure condition right now, uh, there's no point. I mean, you are actually challenging something which you should not be doing. You are actually directly hitting at the plinth of the temple by digging in such deep, this thing. I don't know what they're going to develop, because those plans are not known to us. But doing such activity, the vibrations, the depth, they're damaging the plinth. It is the vibrations are passing on, and that's why this new cracks that has been reported to have appeared in the Nath Mandir has come up. So, keeping all these factors in mind, I think, personally, if you ask me, I'm not too happy. In terms of beautification, yes, it looks fine, but it doesn't look that nostalgic. Puri is known as a heritage town. Puri is as old as Nilachal, as we call him. Nilachal or Sankhaketra is as old as, Kashi, for that matter. It's older than civilization. That's how I put it. It's older than civilizations. So with those huge number of heritage properties gone and with the temple structure being impacted, I am personally extremely worried that how ASI is going to manage that. As it is, they have so many challenges in maintaining the current structure. And on top of that, coupled with these kind of developments are not very encouraging, if you ask me.
So
So that's my take.
yeah. ASI has destroyed most of the spiritual aspects of all the properties they manage. Number one rule they have is like they're still working on the British Alex Cunningham's plans, where they accept Western syncretism, where they want to merge all the dates with the Western dates. That is the theory they had. And they
Yeah.
have significantly damaged most of the culture. They have done a good job also in restoring many sites. But those is restoring is mostly done on a construction. It's like a construction plan, not as a heritage or history. So because they are still working on their British mindset, where they are just trying to preserve the building, not the culture. So
You're right. And just to add on to, for the knowledge and enrichment of the audience, you're right. If you look at Maharani Tarabai's samadhi, for that matter, or the epitaph where her ashes are kept, if you look at how Baji Rao's samadhi is kept in MP, near Narmada. I don't remember the name of the place, but Baji Rao Ballal Bhatt, that's pathetic actually, if you look at it. A great man of this sort. Or you come to side of Mewar, the Raja Maharana Arvind Singh Ji, his samadhi, the one who fought with Aurangzeb tooth and nail to save Nathwara. So it's a very sad story. But if you look at Humayun Tomb, if you look at Agra, you look at Sikandra. Most importantly, that's a funny story. Sikandra, which is supposed to hold the remains of Akbar, is very well maintained. But I don't know how many of you know Sikandra doesn't have Akbar's remains, because during Aurangzeb's reign, Rajaram Jat had dug up the two incidences in Indian history, where this is one. Akbar's grave was dug up by Rajaram Bhatt and he burnt the bodily remains of Akbar. He was hanged later on by Aurangzeb, obviously. And the second instance was when Mahatji Shinde, to avenge the cruelty done by Najib-ud-Daulah, went to Najib's place, burial, after defeating the Rohillas very badly, around, I think, 1767, 68, I don't remember, something around that time. His, his cavalry, they dug up the cemetery of Najib, and they did the same kind of treatment to avenge their deaths. So all in all, I think I agree with you that ASI has a lot to improve and lot to do for us, and probably somewhere down the line they need to identify those real places which need not only can be developed as a heritage site, as I was saying, uh, to raise the interest levels of people in the country, and but it can be a huge, let me tell you, it can be a huge revenue earner for them as well. Maharani Tarabai, who fought tooth and nail after, you know, Shivaji, Sambhaji, she deserves a lot more. Or Raja Raja Chola,
And they have to first change their mindset and the goals. If they're
they,
still working on
they,
Alex Cunningham's plans, then they're going to build railroads on top of the temples. What happened to
mm,
Mohenjo-daro and
mm,
Harappa? And they've done the build the railroads. Lahore to Peshawar
mm,
railroads are built on those buildings,
mm,
the rocks of
mm,
the
mm.
buildings. So they have to come out of that mindset. Unless they come out of the colonial mindset, they can't do anything. My last question,
Please.
and so Jagannath Puri has a very choppy ocean. I've never seen big waves like that. Good for the surfers actually, but it's very dangerous
It's
because
very dangerous.
because
Very
the
dangerous.
waves are circular.
And a lot of people lose their lives, okay?
Good
A lot of people.
swimmers, good swimmers.
Yes, 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 yes.
Not
Absolutely.
the new people don't even risk, but I'm saying only the good swimmers go. But at the same time, I see the regular fishermen going out. They are not scared. They go out. They know what is a cycle
They
is.
are the Nullias. They are the Nullias, the Telugus, who
Yeah,
have been there for centuries now.
centuries. Yes. They
Yes.
go out regularly in the ocean. So how
Yeah, yeah.
significant is the ocean to the Jagannath Puri temple? Because
See,
yeah.
there's a lot of history around that as well. So I'll just cite out three things, 3 points of importance. One is, as per scriptures, our scriptures, if you have visited Purushottam Kshetra or Nilachal Puri, the what they call, or Shankha Kshetra, you must have bath in 5 water bodies. And out of those 5 water bodies, one is Mahadodhi, which is the ocean, Mahadodhi. So you have Aarti also happening every day evening. So that is one big importance of having bathing in the ocean, bathing in the ocean, or offering your Aarti, whatever you do as an individual. Second is there are lots of folklores, there are lots of legends. One is as per the scriptures, the Samudra Dev is the father-in-law of Bhagwan Mahavishnu. So, and Lakshmi being his consort. So obviously, Sasur or Damat ka rishta hai. So that's one. And third point is, if you look at Jagannath Puri's architecture and the kind of or the type of Hanuman vigrahas which are there are a couple of Hanuman Vigrahas who are being responsible. I mean, and the legend goes that Bhagwan Vishnu or Krishna told Hanumanji that the waves of the ocean will not reach my sanctorium. So there is one Hanumanji who is called Kanpata, means Kan means ears, Kanpata Hanuman means that Hanuman is responsible for absorbing all the noises of the ocean into his ears and just digest them so that it doesn't pass on inside the temple. So today, if you go there, go to the temple, you will not hear a sound of the sea, whatever the weather conditions might be. Secondly, there's another Hanumanji who is called Beri Hanuman, where Mahaprabhu had put him on duty to ensure that the Sagar doesn't come inside. And Hanumanji somehow was not doing it and was away from that place. So Sagar came, and so what Mahaprabhu decided that he's going to chain Hanumanji and keep him there seated so that he is able to do his job. So that's why he's under Beri. So that's why it's called Beri Hanuman. So this is another connection between the sea and the temple. And of course, in day to day puja of Mahaprabhu, Mahadodi's waters are used. I'm being not so much conversant with all these pujas, tithis, and I don't know in which where exactly it is used, but it is used. And in parlance of Sanatan Dharma, Mahatodi's waters are equal to Ganga water, Ganga Jal for that matter. And in Devi Ma's puja or any puja, you can use that as well. Fourth point is, there's a place called Sargodwar. There's a Shamshan right on top of Mahadodi. And people say that if you're cremated over there, you go to the heavens directly because Indra and all other devtas who come to visit Jagannath Puri go up and down, or that's the gateway, Sargodwar, Swarg ka dwar, जैसे हरिद्वार हरि का द्वार स्वर्ग द्वार, that is the path that they use. So that is a gateway to heaven. So people are cremated over there so that you go there. So it's like many people wish that their mortal remains are camouflaged to the flames, given to the flames in Manikarnika. So this is also something like that. So this is what it is in a nutshell. There are much more, of course.
I mean, we can have hours of discussion on Jagannath Puri.
Yes,
There is no end to that. But
No
thank
end to
you
it.
so much for coming on the show and sharing. And for all the viewers who are watching, do comment on the video. Let us know your feedback. And I will say, do visit Jagannath Puri and make it in one of your plans to go there. And there are many, I mean, look-wise, now the temple looks much more bigger and open now than before. Even though people who have been going there for years do not like it. Even I was shocked. I could not find my favorite shops over there. And library is books are the anywhere which hurts the books, and which is a big concern for me because I want to see those books and libraries, and I didn't even know the library existed over there because already all the shops were so many over there. I had no idea there is a library behind, and that shows my, in spite of visiting so many years, I still don't know many things about that temple. But I must tell you that if you go there, you'll be welcomed like a son-in-law. That's how it is. That the temple, and don't get scared of the pandas, because if you
No, it is the situation has improved a lot. So they are very, very helpful, supportive, professional, and very amicable. So it's not that bad
my
that
simple
you.
point is, if you do not donate to them, who else will? You do not
Yes,
you do not expect Abrahamism followers to come and donate to them. It is our duty to maintain them. Otherwise, they will all come in the IT industry in Bangalore or drive a rickshaw in Mumbai. So don't do that. There are 6,000 pandas over there, and it is our duty, rest of the world duty, to protect them, preserve them, so that they continue on our behalf.
yes,
That's how the dhams are protected. So do
yes.
that. It is also called Vrindavan, Jagannath Puri. So must visit temple. I mean, it's always on my top list, and must visit. You learn a lot. So thank you so much for coming, Suryaji.
Thank
And
you.
I'll hope to see you next time because there are a lot of things to
Sure.
discuss. Uh,
Yes, of course. We will be discussing. And just to add, the Sri Gundicha temple is considered as a Vrindavan.
Vrindavan. That's right. That's right.
Yes, that is it.
That's a
Just to
Rath
add on.
Yatra. Rath Yatra happening.
Yes, yes,
So
yes. He goes back to the gopis.
gopis. Yeah, that's right.
That is one of the thoughts around
That's right.
in Rath Yatra.
That's right. So thank you so much for coming, and thank you all the viewers for watching. Do let us know your feedback. And until that, Jai Jagannath.
Jai Jagannath.
Yes.